Okay, Robert, you have two organizations. One of them is Represent Us.
Right.
We'll start with that one. What exactly is that, as far as politics goes?
Okay. The Represent Us, and the website is represent.us, is a national organization with 20 or 25 locals set up just in the last couple of months. There's going to be a local in every congressional district. And the premise is we want our politicians to represent us rather than themselves or rich people. And the way we do that is we have a grassroots bill that takes big money out of government, increases the effect of small money contributions from normal citizens like you and me. So Sheldon Adelson, who invested, what was it, $5 million? No, $3 million in the last presidential election. He doesn't have any more say in whether in what goes on in government than an average citizen who donates $10 or $20. Sheldon Adelson donated $3 million, essentially because the Justice Department was ready to indict him for money laundering, prostitution, other illegal actions in his casino in Macau, and he was paying this money because Newt Gingrich and then Mitt Romney had promised him that they would drop the charges against him, so he wouldn't have to go to jail, and so his organization, the Sands International Casino, wouldn't have to pay hefty fines, and he could do that because he invested $300 million. Our $10 has no effect on anything. So we want politicians to represent us rather than themselves or big money interests.
Okay, well, politicians are, the money only pays for their advertising.
Mm-hmm.
The money does not pay for the votes for by people.
No.
Okay, especially when it comes to the congressional level where you don't have the electoral college.
That's right.
In between. We still vote these people in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So, how is he spent $3 million. Well, there isn't the whole principle still up to the individual voter, though?
Yes and no. Consider if you're looking at voting in any election, say U.S. Congress or Senate or anything else, and you don't know anything about the candidates for either party or for the minor parties, where do you get your information from? How do you research, or where do you get your information from?
The media.
The media?
The media is
TV?
one of the forms. TV, the internet, the local publications.
Yeah. Now, the media, you watch advertisements. That's a big effective way. Politicians spend millions of dollars on advertising. And why? Because they have to have a pollster to determine what issues the people they're trying to represent are interested in. They have a pollster, which way the wind is blowing today. They have to have a media expert to frame a commercial, political commercial, to make people think they're one of them and that they support the issues they support. A lot of times they have to pay an opposition research guy, a couple into the hundreds of thousands, because they want to do a negative ad and say, well, I'm not here to talk about myself, but my opponent is a wife beater. So says the Bethlehem Globe Times of 3 months ago.
No, that's just a hypothetical example.
No, I'm not.
I just wanted to make that crystal clear.
But first of all, even beyond that, the candidates you have to choose from are the ones that had the most money and did the most effective advertising. So, first of all, you don't even know about the candidates who run that have no money, because they don't even run. They don't have a chance because they can't get their name out. The candidates that run they have literally 5 experts to put their finger in the air and see which way the wind is blowing, then develop slick advertising to persuade the people to vote for them. So you don't have democracy in the sense that you don't really know who you're voting for. You never can see your congressman to ask him what his position is on a certain people. He always has spokesmen to tell you what his position is. And and most of the time his positions for when he runs for office are different from the position he takes when he's in office, because when he's running for office, he's trying to make the slick commercials to tell you that he or she supports what you want him to support. But when they get into office, they've already taken the big campaign contributions to put on $1 million campaign, and they vote for what those people want, and you never hear about that in the paper.
Okay, now, but again, ultimately it's up to the individual.
That's right.
Now, would you say the statement is correct or incorrect, where people just don't care anymore? Because they see where it's okay, no matter what, from the local level on up, no matter what I think, no matter what I want, you know what, politicians are going to do whatever they want, from local up to the federal level. Would you say it's correct or incorrect?
Yes, but the answer is, but the complete answer is somewhat more complicated. They are disgusted and completely, they've given up on politicians listening to them. They've given up on the idea of democracy. They'll vote, they'll hit the lever on whoever has the slickest commercial, but they know that person is going to represent him. So there's like a divide, and then that's a trust issue with your congressperson or with your whatever politician. But the other side of it is people have opinions. You can go in any bar, any tavern, any college campus. You can pick up anybody in the street. You can pick up. You can ask him what he thinks about a certain issue, and he'll tell you, and he or she will tell you, and they'll have strong opinions. But they also know they can't put in the work themselves, and they know something about the issues. They're not well educated because they're so turned off with politics and so disgusted. They think there's no point, but they have opinions on everything. They just can't. They just know they can't do anything about it as long as big money controls the outcome. And they themselves are voting on big money because they don't realize they're being manipulated by these $1 million ad campaigns on TV.
Okay, well, now how does Represent Us, more specifically, how are they trying to change all this, though?
We have the only grassroots political movement in the United States that has a solution to big money in government, and in all the various ways that the lawyers have figured out how to get big money in government. Our statute removes all the loopholes, and it's grassroots, which means that it's a movement that's run by individual organizers, individual activists in every city in the country. Rather than something that's put up on high, that like AstroTurf, that some organization says, we got all the answers, just give us $10 and we'll take care of it. This is grassroots. This is done by hundreds of activists on the ground, and it's also a measure that can be put in effect immediately, because number one, it doesn't need a constitutional amendment, which is going to take 20 or 30 years, and which is a good idea, but it's just impractical to solve problems in the short term. So that once it gets passed by a majority of the House and majority of the Senate, it goes into effect the next day. We can have campaign reform tomorrow if a bill is passed today. The other thing is, this bill passes Supreme Court muster because all the arguments from Buckley versus Vallejo in 78, all the way up to the present, all the arguments for big money in government, the Supreme Court has accepted. This bill gets around them. So it's like an all-purpose, immediate, grassroots bill. And I say organized and activists around the country. There are over 375 people that have already signed on in less than a year. We'll have a million grassroots people signing on to support our bill, the American Anti-Corruption Act, by the end of the year. And in each district we're in, we'll have at least 1,000 names of individual citizens, constituents, that we will present to congressmen by the end of the year, saying this is what your grassroots constituents want, and they're gonna be voting on this in November. Now the other thing is, there's been a lot of talk about there's so much hostility against Washington right now. 50% of the people in this country say that they would throw out every single representative in the country, even their own. which has only happened in 1996 and 2010, the two change elections, where masses of, in spite of gerrymandering, masses of incumbents were thrown out. And the statistics this year, a year out from the election, say that there's so much opposition to Washington and the Washington insiders that we're looking at an election where a lot of people might be thrown out in spite of gerrymandering. If they're going to be thrown out, they have to realize they have to at least appear. They're not going to really genuinely be for the people, but they have to appear to be for the people and for issues that people are interested in. So they're going to have to at least give lip service to this in order to maintain their seat.
Okay, now you just made me think of a question as you were about something as you were speaking. With all these people, for represent us, where's the guarantee that all these people are working towards their own agenda? That they actually care about what a majority of the people think? Where's the guarantee that it's no different than, this is me just playing the skeptic, an actual skeptic. Mm-hmm. Where's the guarantee that, okay, this isn't just an organization trying to take over Washington like the corporations have done? At least with the corporations, they provide us with a service. We buy their goods. Mm-hmm. Where's the guarantee that this isn't just another organization out there trying to gain for their own political gain?
As soon as the American Anti-Corruption Act gets enacted, and it will get enacted by next summer, the United Republic and Represent Us will cease to be in existence because it will have accomplished its goal, its only goal. And the whole Anti-Corruption Act was written by experts, including an ex-Republican, ex-chairman of the Federal Election Commission, Claire Trevor, Jack Abramov, who those who have been around long enough or old enough know that he was the lobbyist par excellence who knew how to get around all the laws and bribe politicians to get what his clients wanted, spending the millions. And election law experts, professors and experts, activists and practical experts in the field, whose only purpose was to take away all the legal loopholes that the lawyers have made. Can I tell you a quick story?
Yeah.
There's two sides to this. Number one, the services, our democracy is so corrupt there's no democracy, because the choices we have and the means we have to pick between the choices we have are not.
That can be argued.
That can be argued, and we can discuss that. But number two, it's the politicians themselves. There was a book published just this year by Peter Schweitzer, who is a conservative commentator who believes that the real problem is not with the corporation donating money, but the politicians who are greedy and just want the money. And he says two things. One is, he says in his book, which has been featured on Fox News, and it's an excellent book, he says the business of politicians is no longer lawmaking, but money making. When politicians gather together to fight either for or against a particular bill in Congress, no matter who wins the legislative battle, they all get paid. That because they get paid by the big interest. And it's not just for campaign contributions, because he gives the example of a congressman who took his entire family, his wife and 3 kids, to Japan for 2 weeks at a cost of $50,000, a personal vacation. And because he made a 5-minute speech before a Chamber of Commerce in Tokyo, he was able to use his campaign funds to pay for that $50,000 personal trip. So it's on the one hand, it's a big money interest, the corporation, but particularly the rich people who have an outsized influence on who runs and what those people do once they're in office. But it's also the politicians who want to get in on the gravy train, not just because so they can win elections with slick advertising, but because they can make money off it themselves and charge it off to their campaign fund. So you were going to ask me, you were going to dispute?
That's for another discussion.
Okay.
Otherwise, this thing will be a 2-hour-long interview. Trust me.
No,
And you
right.
and I will not convince each other on the point. I already know that. We've actually had it before.
No, but I mean, I'm here to put
Yeah.
out my opinion. And
Yeah,
people
it is. Now, the other organization you have.
Lehigh Valley Coffee Party. That's actually been I've been involved with with Lehigh Valley Coffee Party since March of 2011. That's the Represent Us. I've only been involved really since the spring of this year. Lou Shoup, who you just interviewed, and myself, we are the organizers for Lehigh Valley Coffee Party and Represent Us. Lehigh Valley Coffee Party is an organization that has three essential interests. Number one, rational discussion, not the way it is now, which is a big problem in political discourse. People screaming at each other, I'm right, no, my side is right, no, you're wrong, you're beating your wife, all this stuff, which is a real turnoff to people. It's not the way democracy is supposed to work. We should have civility and rationality. You can disagree respectfully. So number one, we have what any new member signs what we call a civility pledge, which means no matter what his opinion, and we have people from all ends of the spectrum, from extreme libertarian Tea Party to extreme ultra-liberal, we disagree, but we disagree respectfully. We can talk about why we disagree. Number two, we are nonpartisan and transpartisan, which means we don't particularly support any cause specifically, with limited exceptions. But we allow our members to decide what they're going to do, and we want to pass laws and be active with events and marches that increase the power of the individual citizen to encourage to influence events. In other words, we don't want to encourage the big rich people to influence, but we want citizens like you and me to influence that event. Those are the main two things, and that's what Lehigh Valley Coffee Party represents. So it fits in well with the Represent Us platform, because we believe in civility. We don't care what your political beliefs are, but we want to encourage you to become active and not to be discouraged and disgusted by the corruption all around us.
Okay, now one final question before we wrap this up with, I know you have upcoming events. But again, this goes back to, I'm repeating an earlier question.
Sure.
Every human being, whether they realize it or not, has agendas. Okay, has their own agendas and everything. My magazine has it. Mm-hmm. I fully admit it, and I fully post it. I don't hide it.
Mm-hmm.
But you're saying, what's the difference between, okay, let's just say a small group of people having their agenda and trying to gain and using any political means, because I've seen this happen on the local level, versus the big corporations, where again, at least the big corporations, they're employing people, they're we buy. What's the difference?
Well, I think
I'm not saying it's good or bad, but because there are good things with corporations influencing Washington, because they also fund all the medical technology research and everything.
Oh yeah.
But I'm not saying good or bad. I'm just saying, what's the difference between, let's just say, a small group of local people in any area? Hey, you know what? This is catching fire. Let's latch on to it. Give them tell them that we agree with them, and all of a sudden, once we start getting known, you know what? We're going to do something that is completely detrimental to the entire country without saying any words.
There are the essential answer to your question is, I'm in contact with all the 20 people in the locals and with the national people, and I have yet to find one person, which is unique among organizations. I'm talking about Represent Us particularly, unique among these organizations, where everybody is united around the one belief: curb money in politics, and then whatever happens after that, we go out and the competition between free ideas and a political democracy wins, rather than money wins. The free ideas. They want to accomplish that, and then they're going to go on to other goals, not through Represent Us. The other answer to your question is, the idea of Represent Us is we don't represent a special interest, and I can't emphasize this enough. We represent a general interest because we represent the interest of the people, the mass of the people. In other words, Anthony Scalia recently in the Supreme Court said, well, if we curb the influence of money in government, that curbs the the free speech rights of 1%. We're not for the free speech rights for 1% or for 99%. We're for the free speech rights of 100%, but we want each of those 100 people to have an impact. One person, one vote, not $1, one vote. And that's not a special interest, and I'll argue that till I'm blue in the face. That's a general interest, and as I say, once that goal is accomplished, we go back to politics and arguing what we believe in, because we can have an impact. Right now, we can't have an impact.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Yes, it does. Now, you want to let people know about the events coming up real
Thank
quick,
you.
and
Thank
we'll
you.
wrap this up.
Yeah, sure. There are several events this weekend, and then we'll be posting events for the future after that. But this weekend is going to be a very busy weekend, very important weekend. On Saturday afternoon between 11 and 3, please come out. We're having a rally. It's the Allentown version of the International March Against Corruption. Tens of thousands of people in 60 cities across the country and online are going to be involved. In Allentown, we hope to have about 20 or 30 people. A march against corruption, just a holding up signs and gathering signatures for the American Anti-Corruption Act. That will be at the Burrito Works, 818, in front of the Burrito Works, 818 Hamilton Street in Allentown. We'll have a table set up. We're going to take a group picture. Anybody that comes out, we're going to have a group picture. We have the signs made up, and we'll take and you'll be part of the group picture. We'll post them on Facebook and the National Represent Us site. That's Saturday from 11 to 3. Come anytime. And then Sunday afternoon, we're having the first activist coffee social get-together. That's from 1:30 to 3. I'm sorry, from noon to 1:30 at the Brewworks, second floor conference room. That's at 812 Hamilton Street in Allentown. Everybody's invited. We're just going to have coffee and maybe a Danish or something, and talk about what's of interest to people. Exchange views and exchange ideas. First of many. Sunday afternoon at from 3 to 4, we're having our regular show, Lehigh Valley Caffeinated, and I just want to grab real quick the website in a second, where you can either come to our offices at 1101 Hamilton Street, or you can why can't I find this now? I'm drawing a blank. Anyhow, you can go to Lehigh Valley www.htv.
Well, send me the link and I'll post
yeah.
it.
We're having a special edition. We have a weekly TV show on Ustream. Special edition this week from 3 to 4, briefing on all the local elections that are coming up for a vote. Impartial, nonpartisan, telling you where the candidates stand, what their platforms are, so you can go into vote and exercise your franchise in an activist way. We're also, the one other thing I mentioned, it's not a Coffee Bar to Represent Us event, but Saturday at 5 o'clock at 1101 Hamilton Street, third floor front conference room. Lou Shoup, our co-director, is having an individual conference. It's an online activist conference to teach you how to protect yourself from NSA surveillance and your use of Facebook and social media. And so Saturday we're having the March Against Corruption from 11 to 3, and then at 5 o'clock, Lou Shoup's special action. Then Sunday from 12 to 1:30, the first activist coffee social get-together. And then at 3 o'clock, the show, which you can either come to our office to listen to, be part of the audience, or listen to online.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
It's greatly appreciated.
And I will persuade you one of these days.
Don't count on it. I'm a skeptic by nature.